Peace, everybody. This is the Hood Mystic, representing www.hoodmystic.com. We're continuing our planet series. We started off with Pluto, and we are continuing to build with Neptune. This video is entitled Neptune Explained. And so I want to show you what this picture is really showing, and then I'm going to elaborate on that and really give you a full context of what's going on, and really explaining Neptune and why it's misunderstood and why it's overlooked and things of that nature. So this picture is a picture of the pineal gland and the hippocampus and what it represents in our inner psychology. Neptune energy is thought to be connected to our pineal gland. So when I do astrology, it is esoteric astrology. It is relating to the body. It's not relating to the planets in the sky. We just use those as a symbol, as a marker, and then we relate it to ourselves. And so that's why I feel astrology is so powerful. And so if Neptune is connected to our pineal gland, then we're talking about the part of our body that deals with our psychic nature and our higher awareness, our visions, our divinity, and ultimately nirvana. I put out some videos recently on my YouTube page, some rebroadcast or re-uploads of the chakras, because I felt as though to fully talk about Neptune, you really have to understand your third eye. And to understand your third eye, you have to understand your first 5 base chakras to even get to your pineal gland. So if it intrigues you or interests you, be sure to check out my videos on the chakras. I got them in a nice playlist for you. Make sure you start at the root and work your way up like a ladder, okay? So once we fully understand this pineal gland, then we can fully understand Neptune and our blocks and things of that nature. So Neptune and the pineal gland, okay? The pineal gland is the gland that produces melatonin and controls our sleep patterns. So when we say Neptune is the planet of dreams and visions, then you know why. Our dreams are connection to the divine. On this channel, a lot of my information, I first dream about it first, and then I put the information out and I do the research and things of that nature. This channel represents my connection to the divine rather, or the vine, however you want to look at it. Not to brag or boast, but just a representation of a vast amount of information that is not coming from me because I'm so smart. It's definitely because I channel information and that my pineal gland is not calcified. A long time ago, I stopped using toothpaste with fluoride in it. If you're in a rural area, this may be difficult for you, so my best suggestion is to use baking soda and peroxide to brush your teeth. You know, it's not by coincidence that our pineal glands are calcified, because I'll get into this later in this video. The pineal gland, or Neptune for that matter, is a weapon. And so to de-weaponize you, you cannot go to a regular store and buy toothpaste. And we all need toothpaste, you know? So if I do buy toothpaste, it contains heavy fluoride. And this blocks the pineal gland. And so if your pineal gland is blocked, then that doesn't mean you'll die. That means that all you'll see is the mundane aspects of life. So when a person starts to speak higher ideals and starts to use and speak from original ideas, they sound crazy. But it's not that they're crazy, it's that their pineal gland is not calcified. They utilize their imagination and their original ideas. The pineal gland is known as the seat of the soul. So when we talk about our soul and we talk about the things that truly matter to us, these things have to be uncovered or uncalcified, okay? So Neptune is the lord of the third eye, the lord of our imagination, and the lord of our original ideas. So often we hear artists, musicians, and inventors, get the feeling of sudden inspiration. Like, I don't know, it just came to me one day, and I just wrote this amazing song, or it just came to me one day and I invented the clapper. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you may not feel that though. You may feel like that's far-fetched, that you have no inspiration, you have no imagination. All you know is wake up, go to work, make some money, buy some stuff, and do the whole thing all over again. That's because your third eye is blocked and you lack imagination and inspiration. But since you have money and since your bills are paid and things of that nature, you can jog, a mile in under 5 minutes, whatever. You don't think that because you lack this imagination and inspiration, that is not a problem. You don't understand abstractions. Things have to be fit into your subjective reality, or else you're going to be depressed or scratching your head or wanting to protest or wanting to riot. Especially if Neptune is somewhere in your chart. Neptune is in everybody's chart. It depends on where it's at in your chart. But ultimately, understanding this, where is Neptune at in your chart? And then you might go to an astrologer who don't understand Neptune in his own damn chart. So you got to be very mindful about astrologers and their information and what they actually know. Because everybody can look on Google and look up keywords and things of that nature and then begin to minister based on keywords. You have to really look at this thing from a very, very deep level to begin to talk about it. Now I'm trying to break Neptune down so I could explain it to my children. Before we get there, because their third eye chakra is not blocked. Their Neptune is fully, it's functioning. So I'm very mindful of allowing them to be creative and inventive, or not trying to correct them every time they're not doing something that fits into my subjective reality of what a child should be like, a child should behave, and things of that nature. And then ultimately, as we begin to close and expounding on Neptune in the third eye, is that it cannot fully be in alignment until the bottom 5 chakras are balanced. I said this earlier. So to really understand the psychological attunement for each chakra, very important. A Cliff's Notes of those videos real quick. The root chakra is where we ground and realize that our energy comes from the earth and the nutrients and the minerals and the crystals that are found deep in the earth. If we can ground and attune to that, that is our energy source. The second chakra, or the sacral chakra, is where we balance our emotions. The third chakra, or the solar plexus chakra, is where we rectify all of that family trauma and turmoil. Even if we grew up in a great family turmoil, you gotta let that shit go too, because you may be attached, and that's called nostalgia. And nostalgia is just as bad as being depressed, in my opinion, because you actually are attached to the good things in the past. So now, as we raise our vibration up to the heart chakra, we because we rectified that family shit, we realize that we're a soul. And now when we get to our throat chakra, we begin to speak from this newfound peace. So when it gets to the third eye chakra, you have that balance, you have that foundation. So when we begin to talk about the world and its infinite possibilities, you're not gonna get all ego-centered and start making a YouTube page and calling yourself the hood mystic and, talking about you do readings and things of that nature. You try to keep everything in a proper perspective. That was a joke, by the way. So in order to receive inspiration, you have to be clear on those transmissions. Now, I understand this fully because I've been trying to open my third eye my whole journey. And maybe I did open my third eye. And maybe I opened myself to limitless possibilities of bullshit. So until I cleared myself of that bullshit, that family stuff, balanced my emotions, became zen, being okay with being alone, things of that nature, then I could receive those messages from Neptune and say, you have a vision, you have a purpose. Begin to live and walk in your purpose. Let that shit go, Kyrie. From that point, I begin to really expand and really grow. Not until then, though, because I tried to expand and grow without balancing those chakras, and I suggest not to do that, but to each his own. So Neptune represents a higher octave of Venus. And Neptune sits on the border of non-physical and physical, like I said, is the planet of dreams. It represents divine love and spiritual oneness rather than a personal, selfish, and egoic love. So Venus would show up as I love you. Neptune would show up as I love you all. It's very different. So if you have Venus heavy in your chart and it's this selfish, egoic love and the subjective reality of what love should be like, then if it's not that, then Houston, we have a problem. But if you have a Neptunian influence heavy chart or wherever Neptune is at, then maybe how love shows up is not a problem to you, and you can accept people for who they are. And you're not trying to fit them and stuff them and smash them into your small, narrow, subjective reality. So let's talk about this a little further. When we're dealing with Neptune and we're trying to deal with our personal problems, it's going to lead to more confusion and more misunderstandings. Why? Because Neptune doesn't want you to have borders, but borders are healthy. You need borders, but you got to have the right borders. If you're not in the right borders, then you deal with Neptune and it's like, you sure you want to be with Jermaine? You know he don't got no job. Sure, this is your forever? This is your forever. Okay. Then it floods you with all of these emotions and all this, all the positivity and all the negativity comes, and then it's too much to handle. And it's like, what's wrong with him? Were you clear on your needs before you engaged in this relationship? Just simple questions, but ultimately, that's neither here nor there. It's important to understand that once we get our emotions involved, if not clear, then we're going to be in a situation that has no boundaries, that is very open and the transmission of energy will be open. So are you really clear on that other person's Neptunian influences as well? So it's a lot that plays into it, and it may sound complicated or confusing, but ultimately, if your boundaries are in check with your lower chakras and you understand that, it's a vibratory thing, then any violation of that, you automatically know what to do. If you have no boundaries and you kind of trying to figure people out and things of that nature without figuring yourself out, it leads to chaos and confusion. Because Neptune is the god of sea. Neptune is the god of water. Neptune is the god of emotions. Water is emotions. Water isn't, because we're talking about esotericism and we're talking about symbology. For me to sit up here and be talking about water for the sake of water, I would simply be wasting your time. If I'm going to talk about water, it has to represent something. It has to mean something different. So when we're doing tarot or anything spiritual and water comes up, we're not thinking about literal water. We're thinking about as it represents to us in our emotions and how important our emotions is to really navigating this matrix. understanding the different boundaries that are there and the boundaries that are not there. Very key to understand. Emotional boundaries, an example of that. You just chilling one day, your phone ring, it's your mama. She say, I never loved you, I never cared about you, you ain't shit, and just hang up. If you're emotionally connected to your mom's love and nurturing and care for the past 28 years and you get this call, you're not prepared for that emotionally. You have no defense for that. And so therefore, it's gonna break you down. But ultimately, you should, when we deal with Neptune, you should be beyond any emotional attachment, because we worked on that in our second chakra. Not to say that you would be okay with her mother not loving you, but you understand that your sustenance doesn't come from your mother loving you. Your sustenance comes from the earth and grounding yourself and grounding your root chakra and dealing with your Pluto energy, because your root chakra is, if as above and so below is true, then the lowest part of you is actually your highest part of you. And so from there, that's where your real power is not connected to your emotional connections. You begin to feed your emotional connections with your energy that you've gathered from the root. Neptune rules over the collective consciousness. So ultimately in life, this is going on where the pineal gland is calcified for millions, but they still need that vibe though. Still need to relax and, even go to sleep. So how do we deal with Neptune energy with the calcified pineal gland? We look through alcohol, drugs. And so, like I said, Neptune rules over the collective conscious. So depending on your time, depending on your era, that relegated to the type of drugs you was on. Because were they doing Molly in the 30s? I don't think so. Maybe. I wasn't there. But, ultimately, as the times change, the drugs change. When I was growing up, I grew up in the Snoop Dogg era, and everybody was rapping about smoking weed and maybe drinking gin and juice. How shocked am I when I'm listening to Future and he's rapping about popping Percocets, and Lil Uzi Vert is talking about doing Xannies and things of that nature. And I'm just like, and so if you're not hip to Neptune, then you're like really shocked and appalled. Like, these kids are crazy. No, these kids are hurt and they have no connection to the divine. And so these drugs are the stimulant that gives them the Neptunian feeling. It because generally, if I'm talking to a kid and things of that nature, and I'm telling them all of the good game, what am I not doing though when I'm talking to him? I'm not affecting his emotions or her emotions. Therefore, it does not matter what I say. So when we deal with I was 19. I always reflect on the time when I was 19 and things of that nature, where I had all the good advice thrown at me. But until I went to prison, until I felt those emotions, only then did I want to change. So do I have a solution for kids and their drug use? No. Other than to decalcify their pineal gland and to get them reconnected to spirit. Do I have a solution in the mundane area of things? Absolutely not. That's why we're having this conversation, because maybe you are dealing with your Neptunian influenced by alcohol, drugs, pain medication, sex, food, binge watching TV shows and things of that nature, escapism. How do you escape is where you need to connect with your Neptune energy. If Neptune is heavy in your chart, then that makes you an outsider. So if Neptune is in your chart heavy because you're never really accepted in places. You never been in a group. Like, I've never really been a part of anything, because Neptune is linked to spirituality, mysticism, divine love, letting go of selfish aims and ideas, and caring about the collective needs. It's not linked to being the most popular person, or, you know, living a good life or falling in love and things of that nature. It's a very difficult planet, and the pineal gland is a very tough thing to decalcify. It's not a simple, easy fix. So when we're talking to people and we're dealing with people, we have to be very patient and very clear on what you need to do to heal them. Because a person will come to you for answers, and if you don't have the answers within yourself, if you're still dealing with ignorance, illusion, and Maya, then you're not giving them good advice. You're just simply not raising your consciousness above the mundane. And a lot of people will live their life back and forth, and, you know, it'll just be a normal process of just looking at life as in the mundane sense, going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home. Neptune has actually been the ruler of this age over the past 2,000 years now. Somebody asked me to do a video on the age of Aquarius and the age of Pisces, which I am. I will get fully in depth into it. But I just want to show you Neptune's influence on humanity over the past 2,000 years. So, at the turn of the millennium, we exited out of the age of Aries and into the age of Pisces. Now we are exiting out of the age of Pisces and entering into the age of Aquarius. It goes backwards, okay? So the age of Pisces is the age of peace. And if you were to look at life today, you either could understand that, or maybe you don't, because you have no previous standard to set this time against. But if you study history, then you understand that the age of Aries represented an age of conquest, an age of war, an age of violence everywhere, all over the planet. And now we have pockets of it now, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Generally, we can go outside and walk to the store without getting your head cut off. So it has changed over time, because even up to 200 years ago, things were kind of, out of whack. And even today, things are still out of whack. But overall, we can see the progression of peace that is coming over the planet and will continue to rise. But we have to understand that this peace was an awakening or a decalcification of the collective pineal gland. And it could be you who could change the planet based upon your connection to the divine. It cannot be you dealing with the mundane and the everyday minutia of back and forth. This is where we get caught up and held at. And then when you could agree with this, I have friends that agree with what I'm saying, but they still are attached to the idea of 9 to 5 and mundane reality. It's a very tough thing to let go. But let's understand Neptune and his origin and where he came from and how this energy came to be. Now, Neptune in his origin story is not based upon Greek mythology, as it is more based on Hindu mythology, but the Greek mythology is more digestible and more understandable for me. but I will tie in some Vedic stuff as well, because I understand that Vedic history is much older than Greek history, which is more in depth and probably even more truer. But just the language and how it's explained, it's just very easy for me to explain it using Greek mythology. So, Neptune was swallowed by his father, Cronus. And that Cronus, or Saturn, as he sat in his father's belly, Neptune spent that time dreaming and creating an ideal life. When I was a child and I went through tough things, I would perform. like it was really bad. And I think I did this I did this all through high school. Like, I had like this other life where I was like this rap star or music star, and like I had this record label. It was like it was big. So like I would do regular stuff, like go to school and learn, but I really couldn't wait to go home. Like I would be OCD with it. Like I would move all of the furniture and like really perform like for nobody. But like this was my Neptune. And you know, I'm fortunate that I've cultivated, like, because even through my toughest times, that I could always resort to this like inner world of being like this successful artist. So whether I was in prison, even like, because now I'm thinking about it, like it's been times like in my 20s I had no car, I had to walk everywhere and things of that nature, catch the bus. And like I grew up before like MP3 players and phones and things like that. So like even though like I could have had a Walkman, but most of the times I couldn't afford one, so I generally had to like walk and go through life like if people used to see me like in the neighborhood or whatever, like, bro, you always be talking to yourself. Like I wasn't talking to myself. Like I was really in this world where I was like an artist like doing this music or whatever, like some Puff Daddy shit, and I was just like really in it. But like this is how Neptune really works, and this is something that I feel we all have to a certain extent. I'm just heavily Neptune influenced, being that Neptune is in my third house, which rules Gemini, and my North Node is in Gemini, which I'm actually living out now in this present moment with this video, which is kind of weird and beautiful when you study astrology and you begin to understand it. Not to get off topic, but a lot of people talk about astrology in a sense that is very confusing and they don't understand it. Well, it's supposed to, because you're not used to it, but you have to learn it, and once you learn it, you will begin to understand it. I just want to say that real quick, but I digress. Saturn swallowed Neptune. He sat in there, meditated, visualized, and dreamed the ideal life. Then all of a sudden, his big brother Zeus freed him from his dad's stomach. And like it was prophesied, Neptune became the lord or king or god of water. Now let's take a step back. Our bodies are 70% plus water. The earth is 70% plus water. So when we speak on water, we're not talking about no small thing. We're talking about the greater part of us that has been calcified and kept under wraps. And so that means that the truth of our existence, based upon the idea of water, means it's unknown or somewhat subconscious. So if, like, it's a quote, a wise man knows that he knows nothing at all. We use Neptune to bring in the truth into focus. And so we could use the energy of our third eye and use it in the moment to bring truth to what we don't even fucking know. But if you feel like you know everything, you got all the answers, then Neptune don't matter. It's a whole block conversation. So let's talk about the symbolic meanings of Neptune, and let's talk about what Neptune is and what Neptune is not. so you can get a full understanding of the energy that we're working with and the energy that we're trying to channel and bring forth to reality, as opposed to doing it backwards. Okay, so the symbolic meanings, we'll go through this real quick. Dreams, intuition, psychic ability, invention, magic, perception, psychology, philosophy, esotericism, occult, imagination, mysticism, emotion, the shadow / hidden side of life. This is not whether you got a big car, a big house, a nice car, a fly lady, your kids doing good at school. It has nothing to do with the mundane. It has nothing to do with the apparent world. It has everything to do with the inner, more psychological, more deeper aspects that can change your life for real, as opposed to just simply getting high and covering over the pain and misery and figuring that a bigger house or a nicer car or a better husband will somehow put you into the right zone. Like, you know, it's very scary, but I try my best to navigate those rough seas of Neptune, because we're not dealing with the personal life. We're dealing with your higher ideals. We're dealing with your goals, what you actually could be, you know, as opposed to the limiting beliefs that you were dealt with when dealing with a calcified pineal gland. It's not a coincidence, man. So we're almost done. Symbol represents the symbol of Neptune. It has a meaning. It's just not just a picture is worth 1,000 words, you know. So that cross at the bottom of Neptune is symbolizing those 5 chakras that need to be in alignment before you can even get to the trident or to the blades or use the weapon. Generally, you can't use Neptune as a weapon until you ground and stabilize your life. How do you actually ground and stabilize your life? Well, you ground and stabilize your life through the 3 prongs of the trident. The trident was a weapon that Neptune used to control the waters, and the waters represented 3 forms of its value to us. The liquidity of water, the fact that it flows and it fits into whatever container, and we have easy access to it. You can just cut on the faucet right now and water comes through. The fecundity, and now I remembered this before I started this video. I forgot. Get up. Right. So fecundity represents its ability to reproduce and have its ability to like constantly replicate and duplicate itself as water everywhere. And generally we don't have to mind it. It generally minds itself, fecundity. Drinkability means it also provides us with sustenance. It also provides us with the nutrients needed to grow and be our best self. Like, without water, you won't be your best self. I'm sorry. Like, you have to drink plenty of water. And also, from the Hindu origin of the trident, which Shiva carried himself, Shiva represents, when he's standing on a person, he represents standing over ignorance, illusion, or Maya. The physical world has no effect over Shiva. He can just sit and meditate, and his weapon was the trident, which was intuition, perseverance, and chaos. And wherever you fall in that line, you have to either intuitively bring something out of the spirit world, and once you bring it out, you have to maintain it, perseverance, and then sometimes you have to break it all the way down and start over again. And really understanding this process is how Shiva overcame ignorance, illusion, and Maya. So at the beginning of this video, I said that this was a picture of the pineal gland and the hippocampus. And now I feel like we really tackled the pineal gland. I really want to tackle the hippocampus, because that is the name of the seahorse that is like, that's not a name that I'm like, that's not a like that is the name of that horse, is called a hippocampus. And so we have a hippocampus in our brain which controls the direct memory. So our direct memory is everything that we remember, but it's not the end all be all. Neptune represents our cosmic memory. So our real memory, and it rides the hippocampus, meaning it can channel information into your consciousness to give you more of a cosmic memory bank. And instead of just dealing with your regular, my name is Sharon, I was born in 1952, I went to West High School, I graduated with a degree in cosmetology, and I do nails. That's hippocampus. Once you start to incorporate Neptune, then you dealing with a whole different set of potatoes. And so generally most psychics, most astrologers and things of that nature, they not on that level. And I'm not dissing or trying to make myself seem better. It's just they don't know. And so maybe this can help. This will ultimately help your astrologer, for that matter, you know. So understanding this shit, man. Understanding that Sattva represents peace that a person acquires when the physical just don't move him no more, you know. And from that point, you can activate and raise your third eye and really oversee all psychic phenomena in your life. And this is a very important thing, because unless you just cool with the mundane and just going to work and coming home and going to work and coming home and going to work, coming home, like you want to do something more. So if you want to do something more and you don't know how to do anything more, then you need to start to work with that pineal gland and open up that third eye. I'm always open for readings, tarot readings, astrology readings, synastry readings on relationships, always trying to do a good job of my readings, always putting in a lot of work. I generally do a whole day worth of research and studying on your chart and creating an original document personally fit for you to help you in your journey to illumination. But I really hope this video helped you and gave you some more insight and more introspection on what Neptune is, and ultimately how you can begin to incorporate Neptune into your personal life and really expand and live your best self. If there are any questions or anything related to this video that you want to discuss, leave a comment, or if you want to schedule or book a reading, check my availability. Make sure you do that at hoodmystic@gmail.com, and from there we can just discuss it and build. But I appreciate everybody reaching out, all of the feedback, all of the love and things of that nature. And stay tuned for our new moon in Cancer video that's coming up next. So everybody have a peace day, evening and night, wherever this video finds you. Much love, divine love, universal love from my family to yours. And with that, we're signing out. Peace.